deep dive interviews with music gear inventors, builders, creators, and tone chasers. The Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl uncovers the behind-the-scenes stories of the music gear that inspires us. And now, here's your host, Eric Dahl.
Please welcome to the show. I have the VP of Marketing for OWC, that is Otherworld Computing. I've got Chris Kooistra. Thanks for coming on the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
You know, I feel like I know you guys just from using and covering so many of the OWC products, but I want to talk a little bit about your history, Chris, to where you've been in this biz for like 25 years, right?
Yes, I've been in consumer electronics, mobile electronics since 2004, actually. So yeah, it's coming up on 21, 22 years now. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different things come and go. I've gotten to work on some pretty cool things in the past, some firsts, and then that continued with OWC over the last 8 years.
Well, and I was talking before we started the show, Chris, to where, I've been impressed, and I know you've been behind a lot of this with OWC, particularly the way your company and the way you've promoted it and helped position it, working with content creators, particularly with music people, photographers, videographers, podcasters, you name it. You guys really, it seems like that's kind of the home. It's like, OWC, it seems like to me really showcases all of the creative content creators out there in the world who all of us need to save our audio, our video, our stills, our images, everything we're creating, and to be able to have access to them no matter where we are in the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our products, are designed to make your guys' lives easier. We don't want you worrying about the tech. We want you to be in the moment, capturing, recording, shooting, whatever you're doing, and not have to worry about is it backed up? Is it safe? Is it running? Did it record? Did it drop anything? That's our job. We're the, as our CEO, Larry O'Connor always says, we're the boring black box that just makes things work. Well, that's what we do. We sit in the back and we work, so you don't have to worry about us. And, part of being able to tell that story, to your point about social media, is showcasing what our products allow you to do, not how our products do it. That's irrelevant. We make them so you plug them in and you're good to go. That's our job. And then let you be in the moment and capture what you're capturing or recording what you're recording. And, being able to get that, something that you might not otherwise get if you're worried about, am I capturing?
And I gotta say too, Chris, it's so important because, I've been in media for most of my life, and being able to access the video, the audio, the graphics, the images, everything, you can't make the magic happen unless you can get to it. And I remember a few years back, gosh, I don't know how many years ago. And when you and your team were here with Randy and a presentation to where, and I think were you the one who actually dropped one of the hard drives into a glass of water?
Yes. So Randy and I we would do this demo where we actually, he goes to hand it to me and he drops it in a glass of water. And then the reality is, like, that actually is very helpful. Like if you're out in a shoot and you drop it in a puddle, stuff like that, your stuff is fine. It's designed to lift that.
Chris, when I saw you guys do that, and I'm like going, because I mean, the first thing you think of is like everything that I've created and built is lost. And then you guys pull it out of the glass of water, wipe it down, plug it in. No, it's all there. It's all there. Yeah, no, which model was that you did that?
That was probably the Electron, Envoy Pro Electron.
Well, and like I told you, and this is not paid for in any way or anything with this podcast interview, but it's like I'm using the Electron right now, backing up the podcast and a lot of the pieces I do. But I've covered OWC for years in a number of the different magazines I've written for, Chris, and I've always found them to over deliver. Whereas, and I'm not going to mention other brands because I've used a lot of different, portable hard drives and everything, but I've had them crash. I've had ones that got too hot. They overheated, they shut down. Something happened to where I lost a lot of media, and it kind of makes you afraid then, and want to back it up. But as you know, Chris, most of us that are creating content, we need to take it like all over the place, no matter where you're
Mhm.
at, no matter whether it's at a NAM show, whether you're doing, interviews, a music show, photography, just like a lot of stuff that you guys showcase on the social media, you've got to have access. And I think one of the things, that I've appreciated about the products I've worked with, where even, when I covered this one, to where the Envoy Pro Mini that you guys came out with, and
Mhm.
it's like, and it came in to cover, Chris, and it said 1 terabyte. I'm like going, there's no way. There is no physical way that you're putting that much to where I can put that much stuff into this. And by gosh, you're not lying.
No, that Envoy Pro Mini is perfect for, anything on the go recording. Whether you're, recording to a laptop and need to transfer files, or you can even, shoot on your phone, plug that into your phone and dump the files from your phone to the drive, and now you have everything. It's got 1 terabyte, like you said. And then one interesting about that is, while it looks like a flash drive, it is not a flash drive.
Really?
It is a full functioning SSD, and capable of doing almost 1,000 megabytes per second of transfer. So it is a full blown SSD in a very small form factor.
So I've got to ask you, Chris, how did you get involved with OWC? Because, like I said, and what's maybe it's just because after I started covering all your products in the magazines, I just started seeing OWC everywhere.
Mhm.
Maybe that's just good VP of marketing on your part, but
Yeah,
how did you get
exactly.
involved with the company?
So I got involved with the company back in 2018. I had come over to help, um, really kind of focus the marketing at the time to be more than just this general company that does drives and stuff like that. So that's where we really kind of started to, hone in on the different markets. At the time it was photography, consumer, video, and audio for the most part. We've been lucky in, throughout our history that creators have generally gravitated to us mostly because of the quality of the products we make. They trust us, and, we know that, we know what their, this is their livelihood. This isn't, a simple, like, oh, I just want to make a copy of this. If it goes to the cloud, fine. No, this is their livelihood. This is what they do for a living professionally. So they gravitated to us in general, and then we kind of really started to segment out into the different categories, and look and really listen to them and listen to their pain points, and like, okay, so what are you seeing? What do you need it to do? Everything from little accessories we've come out with to the way our lights function on our newer products. The ability, in the past there were lights and they were there, and now we've integrated in the way to for people to, turn lights on, turn lights off, dim them, stuff like that. So it's customized for their workflow essentially, and it looks at what they need to accomplish. And we do that for them. We help them with that.
And it makes a lot of sense too with the lighting and everything. And I noticed that, going through the website and looking at the myriad of products that you guys that OWC offers now. But and you may have to explain terminology to me, Chris, because and I use your products, and I've like I said, I've written on multiple ones, but I mean, like one of the innovations that I wanted to bring up was like with the Thunderbolt, the HDD versus SSD. Okay, explain that to me. Help me out.
Sure. HDD is a hard drive that is a spinning platter drive. So that's the big 3.5 inch, 2.5 inch, 3.5 inch really is what most people know it as. And then the SSDs are either 2.5 or the NVMe blade style. So think of, in a use case scenario, your SSD is your project drive. That's what you're recording to, transferring to fast, and working off of. That's what you're editing off of, and creating the content. Then you back that up to an HDD, which is more of your long-term backup archiving scenario. So it's kind of a best of both worlds scenario. And that's what we really try to preach, especially especially today with the, flash and NAND pricing being through the roof on SSDs.
Right.
We kind of really are educating people, re-educating, because this was the case for a lot of years, that HDDs are still very relevant today. It's, it was always the easy button, pick SSDs, they're faster, they're cheap, whatever, we can use those. Now it's okay, utilize the SSDs, utilize the SSDs you have for your project files and work off of those, and then back things up to your HDD, freeing up your SSDs to be used again as different project drives.
See, now I did not know that because I thought that like the HDDs were just not as dependable, but that's not true at all.
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, they're good for different things. Honestly, SSD, if you're gonna take an SSD and stick it in a box and let it sit there for a year and a half, that's not good for SSDs. That's not how they're built. They're built to be used on a regular basis. HDDs have a little bit longer of a time, a little bit longer of a shelf life when it comes to that type of stuff for backups and archives and stuff like that. And then if you really want to get into like long-term backups, you can go into LTO, linear tape, and that'll give you 30 years of archive.
Wow. Now explain to me also, because certainly everybody's talking about it right now, Chris, with data centers and everything else, and even myself, I use, AI sometimes with creating the images for the thumbnails and the promotables for the podcast. But how is OWC, leaning forward into the AI world? Because so many people like myself and people, graphic artists doing a lot more are creating a lot of stuff on AI, but they've also got to be able to store it somewhere.
Right. I mean, so what you're seeing from a use case, as far as there's never been more content created in the history than there is today. Everything is content, and the files are getting bigger and bigger. You have to create more and more of it. It's no longer, I need, from a content creator standpoint. And even in the audio side, it's like you've got to create, you may not be doing albums as much as you used to, but you're still doing songs. Oh, and you're doing more of them. So you have to get, so you're creating more content. They're bigger files. Atomos is changed things as far as, the size of files. So you need more and more of that type of stuff. And then when you get on the film side, 4K, 8K, 12K, all that stuff. So there's never been more content being created and at larger sizes. So what we're seeing is definitely people needing higher capacity drives. So what used to be, 4 terabyte was enough. Now, if you're shooting 12K, you better have 8 terabytes.
Right.
You know,
And
you know,
people don't think about, and certainly in the media business to where, I mean, 8K, I mean, even 4K is like, that's a huge amount of pixels and data,
Mhm.
especially once you set it in motion. And as you and I know too, Chris, a lot of people do their audio in MP3s instead of doing them in waves because the waves are so much larger.
Mhm.
So it's like all of those are consuming up more, taking up more space, and
Mhm.
for myself too. And I know a lot of people are very comfortable, storing everything to the cloud, but there's just something comforting to me having it on a drive.
Yeah, there absolutely is. I mean, the cloud has its purpose, and there is a place for it in the world. Given the fact that, as we were talking about, how everything is more and more size wise, file size, that's going to add to your price of your cloud storage as well.
Oh,
And what you can get for what you're going to pay in Dropbox for a year, you can buy a Thunderbay, and then now you have 192 terabytes of storage in a RAID 5 format. So you can, you have the ability for, if there's any kind of problems and, God forbid a drive goes down, you can still have all your content by just, take the older bad drive out, put the new drive in, and it rebuilds itself,
that's amazing.
which is great. And then if you do need,
Chris, how does it do that?
so when you're doing in a RAID format, what it does in RAID 5 is it separates the data across the whatever number of drives you have, whether it's 4, 8, 12, depending on
Okay.
however your configuration. And then what it allows you to do is, so instead of having all the files for a drive in a single, or for a project on a single drive, it spreads them across multiple drives. So if a drive goes bad, it can rebuild. You basically take the drive out and put a new one in. And we use our product. We use SoftRaid for this. And SoftRaid, our product, a little different than a hardware RAID, because when a hardware RAID crashes, you have to use the same exact drive, and you're down while it's rebuilding. With SoftRaid, it will it will basically put a similar style drive in there as long as the same capacity. It'll rebuild itself. It will rebuild itself while you're not when you're not working on it. And if you need to work on it, you can still work on the files that are there, and it'll rebuild when you're offline, essentially. The nice part about it too is that software.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and with software, the nice part about it too is I was talking about, like, drives acting, weird or failing for whatever reason. Before it even gets to that point, software has a smart monitoring system where it will tell you if the drive is acting a little weird or something, like, hey, this drive's, potentially going to fail soon, or you might want to replace it. And then, I'll be honest with you, we get annoying with it. We make sure that which drive is having issues. And then, we tell you to, replace the drive. And that way,
Great information.
have that.
Instead of when it just totally collapses and you're like,
Exactly.
oh my, because
This is
worst feeling.
Yeah, it is. And then you're like, okay, well, what went now? It's like, okay, which drive is bad? I can fix, I can do that. I know it's coming. And also keep in mind, like, these are your tools. These are, again, these are tools for professionals, and, they rely on them. We can't, if we can tell you, hey, you have it, you have things on your phone when it says, okay, the battery's dying, and a pop-up shows up, like, expert. This is us telling you, hey, your drive is getting ready to crash, to potentially fail, replace it. So we're doing the same thing. We're telling you, like, hey, here you go. And we want you to we want you to know what your, it's your data too. We want you to know what's going on with your data. And that's a whole other part of the cloud, on-prem. You don't know where your data actually is when it's on a cloud.
That definitely concerns me. You know what I mean? Because like I like, I know it may be old school, but it's just, I like knowing where my stuff is. You know what I mean? Whether it's my video file, my audio files, my images, everything I create, I want to be able to, I want to be able to get to it when I want it, and I want it unharmed.
Yep.
Not
Yeah, and that's, the whole cloud aspect of being able to transfer things to people and, access it remotely and stuff like that. We actually work with partners. So we have a partner that we started working with last December. They're called strada.tech, strada.tech. And what they do is basically have a software platform that allows me to share my hard drive with you over the internet. So, like, you are not, like, I can give you access to certain folders on my computer and give you files that you can look at, view, download, even edit even edit if you need to.
right.
And then all without without the use of a cloud. So it's basically whatever it is a month. And, I think it's like max for enterprise is like $24.99 a month or something like that. If that 12.99, sorry. And, like, I can give you access to my files here. You don't get access to my old computer. You get access to just the folder I tell you. So if we need to pass files, I don't have to put it up. I don't have to wait for it to go up to Dropbox. You don't have to download it back down. You get immediate access to what I've given you, and it's off the cloud. It's on a hard drive sitting here in Chicago.
That's incredible technology. I was going to bring up too, and you touched on them, Chris, to where with the SSDs, I know that for so many of us that it's just become a staple of life, and whether, like you said, plugged into your phone, plugged into your computers and everything else, you share them with people you're working with. And OWC has certainly been, with the Envoy, Electron, with the Express, with the Envoy Pro Mini that we talked about earlier. It seems like OWC has really expanded a lot within this realm.
We absolutely have. And, not just within the SSD space, but also within the different categories we're in. So, a couple of years ago, we launched our Atlas series of camera cards. So now, one thing that's unique to OWC is we have the entire ecosystem, from capturing content to delivering to editing content to backing content up and to archiving it, and even collaborating with some of our NAS systems. So we actually have the entire ecosystem, from capturing content to archiving it. But the nice part about our stuff too is that it's all uses industry standard USB-C, Thunderbolt connection, stuff like that. So nothing is proprietary. If you want to, You can use this for everything. You can use this for parts of it. We're fine with either way. We're here to plug and play into your workflow versus you having to be, stuck in our workflow.
Well, I was going to bring this up too, Chris, and I'm sure for some people this doesn't matter, but it matters to me, is to where the builds on the OWC hard drives is just kind of robust. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it feels. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's just it's metal. They feel meaty. It doesn't feel flimsy. It's just, I mean, compared to other drives I've used over the years, and I've used a lot of different drives, and I've had a number of drives die on me. But it's like the OWC stuff. It seems like you guys kind of build it like to where it's like, I mean, it's just like these heavy metal cases that you guys.
Yeah, we use brushed aluminum for almost all of our products. And then there's a reason for that too, by the way. It's not, I mean, aesthetics is one thing, structure is one thing. Heat also helps it dissipate. If it's plastic, it traps it. The heat pulls it out. So, the idea of, if you've seen our Thunderblade, which looks like a giant, like has the fin shell.
It looks awesome.
Those,
like future.
yeah, it does. It does. And now our Thunderblade is anywhere from 4 to 8 to 12 NVMe blades inside of it. And there's no fan. And we're running 3,000 megabytes per second. Exactly.
I mean, that
Exactly. So there's a stylistic side of our builds. There's a quality of it, but there's also heat and physics behind it. So why we do in engineering, so why we do what we do, and why we design things the way we design them. Part of it too is we
tell it's actually functional, and so
absolutely.
it's not just OWC. It's like it can take a bullet. Because I mean,
Well, that's another part of it too, is we want our, we know that this stuff is not, we are not the cheapest product in the market. We are not, and we're fine with that.
yeah,
We want to be, we want to deliver something that is high quality to you, and we want to be able to use it ourselves too. I mean, some of the stuff we make because we make it the way we expect it to work,
Right.
and we want stuff to work, to do, to function and last a long time.
Well, for me also on the OWC products I've used compared to other brands that I used in the past,
Mhm.
I never worry when I'm connecting it, throwing it in a backpack and I'm on the road with it. I just
Mhm.
don't worry about it. And some of these other ones that were plastic and were flimsy and just seemed kind of cheap in my hand, I worried about them. And I've had some of those crash, Chris.
Yeah, and I mean that goes to back to the point that I was making earlier. Like, our stuff works, and it just works. It's there. It's gonna work, day in and day out, and that's what our expectation is of our company and of our products. So we want to deliver that to our customers and users as well.
Well, and I want to bring up also, with Thunderbolt and with the docks and everything, it seems like
Mhm.
OWC has been expanding. I mean, not only in, the different types of hard drives, with the SSD and with the HDD and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like you guys you're offering more diverse products, because I got on your website and I think I'm going to have to buy some.
Mhm.
And it's like, it seems like you've got more options for somebody like me, to where I'm plugging in multiple drives, I'm plugging in cameras, audio, audio mixer, all these things. It seems like you're designing more products for content creators like that, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The big thing is, being able to connect more things, and the things you need, not just, okay, I have, you know, an extra port here, but like, a perfect example of that was our Thunderbolt 5 Pro dock. I'm sorry, Thunderbolt 5 dual 10 gig network dock. So this is for people who are connecting multiple networks to a single computer, and Dante, stuff like that, connecting multiple networks to a either a broadcast environment, a live production environment, stuff like that, where you need to have separate networks running through a use case. It's not for everybody, but for those who need to run it, it's something that there's nothing else like it today, outside of what we do. So
So I got to ask you this, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I mean, like, how much research and development do you guys do? I mean, like, how do you come up with all these cool ideas with OWC, to where it's like going, yeah, let's build it? Because once again, just like you're talking with plugging in the USBs and the USB-C and all this stuff, I never have enough, no matter
Mhm.
what I mean, is it from clients and users of OWC products coming to you, or is it just you guys sitting around the office going, it'd be kind of cool to make this?
It's both, honestly. Our CEO and founder is very hands-on with the product development and the direction we go with the company and bring out the new products that come out. But he also listens to people. He listens to our customers, and they come out and say, here's where I'm at. I'm running this, I'm running this live production through SoFi. And here's the issue I'm running into. I'm like, okay, well, and he'll be like, okay, yeah, well, we can do that. And if we did this, we can try that. And then, we take it and we have great customers. They work with us, as far as like developing these products sometimes, and we send it to them. And, the next thing you know, we're at sound check and we're playing the entire show through the dock at SoFi Stadium. So,
Oh my God, man,
those are
and I'm glad you kind of gave me a nice segue into that too, Chris, to where I know in Nashville and certainly all around the world, including Austin and so many other recording areas, but it seems like OWC has also become synonymous with audio studios that are recording music. And
yes.
so I mean, because as you and I know, like back in the day, man, when you were doing it like on a 2-inch reel, and it's like going, okay, well, nobody get the demagnetizer close to the 2-inch. So when they're recording with these artists and you've got A-list musicians and you get one pass and you can't get them back in studio, how many studios are you guys working with now? I mean, just in Nashville, because I've
Introduce me, I can I don't know if I can answer that, to be honest with you. I mean, it's been there yeah, a lot. We know we have a great, Nashville's been great to OWC over the years, as well as a lot of other places, but Nashville has got a lot of OWC in it for sure. But yeah, I mean, the idea that, some people keep OWC on hand, like the minis, because people always want, okay, the artist, gets done recording, whatever they want to take it, management wants to take it with them. Well, they can't take the drive in the computer, so they've got to that's a nice, okay, here's your session, or people coming in, bringing their sessions in. You got another thing.
almost, and once again, not to throw another crazy idea at you, but you could almost brand them per studio to where like the studio.
We could, yeah, we could. We've done that for record. We've done that for a couple record labels. I can tell.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Wow. But it's like, it seems like that's an area that OWC has really taken ownership of. And like you said, I mean,
Yeah.
not the cheapest, hard drives and backups out there, but I mean, but of choice, it seems like more professionals are going with OWC.
Absolutely, they are, and you know what? I'll keep the story short. When I usually tell the story, it's a lot longer, more dramatic, all that fun
Oh,
stuff.
come on. I'm liking
But,
it.
but, so no, a couple of years ago, we did a tour around Nashville, and we interviewed like 10, 11 studios. And now what happened was we didn't tell people what to say. If you called something, I wasn't going to correct you, anything. I just wanted to hear from you what you thought. And I want to say 10 of the 11, I buy OWC because it just works. And that was not me prompting, that was not me asking, that was just what people said. And you know what? We take that to heart, and that's how we, develop our stuff. We want it to work, and it just works. And that's why people come to us. That's why they gravitate to us.
That's a heck of a testimony though, because I was thinking about it, when you mentioned about, somebody wanting a copy, of the song or the songs or the demos that were just recorded. It's like even in television, where I work daily, a lot of times we're using drives to just record voiceover to where, there's like, hey, we need a voiceover for a commercial, go down to the audio booth and cut it. And that's a daily occurrence. And especially, also for news people, within that realm, once again, content creation, whether it be for digital news or over the air news, you're constantly using drives every
Mm.
day. And it's like, you don't want to have to think about it.
No, you just want to plug it in and know it's going to work, and drag the files, hit record, and go. And And that's where, like, we get these lots of, small drives and stuff like that. And then we make solutions, like our Thunderbays, where you can take all those individual drives and consolidate, um,
Right.
consolidate all your stuff into one location, and then you can search it, you can find it, you can back it up, stuff like that. So
Well, and I want you to talk also about with new products being released this year, and I've gotten to cover one of them, which it wowed me. I have not seen this one yet. Tell me about the Express 4M2 Ultra.
sure, the Express 4M2 Ultra is a four-blade RAID enclosure. So basically, what it does is it holds four NVMe blades up to 8 TB per blade. So 32 terabytes in something maybe smaller than a Sonos speaker.
Wow.
One of the so and it's Thunderbolt 5, so it's over 6,000 megabytes per second, so you can transfer anything quickly with it. It's got again, aluminum housing, so it's got ridges in the side to help dissipate the heat. And then we did add a smart technology thermal control to it. So basically, what that sounds fancy, what it means is the fans only go on when they need to go on.
Oh,
So, if you're using it in a quiet environment, chances are you won't hear it, and you'll hear a little bit of a whisper hum type of thing to the fans when they do go on. So it's great for anything that you need to back up in high speed, large file, high speed content. So if you're like transferring again 8K, 12K videos, you can edit off of it. Um, it's a really great, product. And then, what we did to this was a little unique is we sell it as an enclosure, but also as a solution now starting next week. So,
wow.
yeah, so
Right.
this is fresh. Yeah, we announced the enclosure in April, and then the idea is that, if you can build it yourself, you can use drives you already have, or if you don't wanna worry about it, we will sell we have solutions now available, July 1st, so yeah, next week.
Wow. Well, I want to talk about also the studios because I
Yes.
got my hands on one and I covered it for a couple magazines. And what a cool just explain this whole thing because I mean it's like it is so powerful in such a small shape. I mean, I don't know exactly how many inches thick and wide, but it's like it's hard drives go. The studio stack is not very big for what
No, no, it's literally based on the footprint of the Mac Studio. So it's designed to fit right on top of the Mac Studio, and then it's only about maybe 2 inches tall, 3 yeah, 2 inches, 3 inches tall, something like that. And inside there, what you can do is you can house up a 24-inch HDD, I'm sorry, a 24 terabyte HDD, and up to a 8 terabyte NVMe blade. So this goes back to the principle I talked about earlier about, hybrid workflows,
right.
SSD and HDD. So now my project drive is my HDD. I'm sorry, is my SSD in there, and then the HDD is my backup, all in a form factor that adds 2 inches to the top of my or Studio Stack or Mac
That's
Studio.
great.
Sorry.
It just looks sleek. You know what I mean?
It
It's
is. It is.
very ergonomic, I would say.
It does. It's designed to kind of blend in with the Mac Studio, and then it also adds, it adds 3 more Thunderbolt 5 ports and 2 USB-A. So
Yeah.
if you have more ports you wanna add in, and then if you wanna add your legacy ports, keyboard, mouse, stuff like that to charge, and you have your USB-A ports. So we're really kinda giving you, it's really the only way to expand a Mac Studio at this point. You can't, we haven't been able to, from a desktop standpoint, the Mac Pro, which was 2019, 2020-ish, was the last one that you could customize and upgrade RAM and SSDs and all that. This doesn't allow you to get into the Mac Studio, but it lets you add to your Mac Studio with one cable.
That's incredible. And also, like we were talking earlier, Chris, so many content creators, especially graphic artists and such, rely on their Macs. I mean, they are just, they're Mac people like it's like a religion, and so it makes sense to where being able to expand that because with everything taking up more space, whether you're working in the AI world or, Adobe, whatever you're working in, you need more space because all of the things you're creating now are just bigger files.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's again, we're never going to go smaller in our files at this point.
No, not enough.
We're not going to be like, oh, 12K is great, but you know what? I think 4K buys.
My little thumb drives now, and I just laugh. From like 10 or 15 years ago, or like, we used to have like those wristband, thumb drives that we'd use. It's like going, you can't put anything on them now.
No,
You know?
look. I don't purchase it because I don't need it. But look how much you can put on an iPhone now. Look what an iPhone can do. Look at what the iPhone is from a camera side of it.
Oh my God.
You're shooting ProRes, and with an iPhone.
Right. And also that you can shoot in 1080. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So without giving away the secret sauce,
Mhm.
how does OWC, how does it make it so fast? Because that's another thing I noticed when I was doing the reviews, and I was testing out, you know, I was doing it with images, and I was moving music, I was moving video, I was just trying it out. I was like, if you're gonna write about something, I want to do it hands on. Why is OWC so much faster than a lot of the other?
We use, some of it's the technology we put inside in our partners. Like we use Thunderbolt for most of our stuff. So Thunderbolt is natively faster than USB-C and USB, I should say, and even USB 4 if you're using Thunderbolt 5. So we put the premium technology in our products, and then we also use software to optimize things. So when you use, even with HDDs, when we configure our products with our partners Toshiba, where we use enterprise drives in our systems, they're designed to work with our software. So we work with our partners. It's not just like we just take anything off the shelf and we stick it in. There's stuff that we do and what we analyze and what we can do from a software standpoint, a material standpoint, again back to the heat dissipation and stuff like that. So that's what makes us different. It's not just we stick things in there that anybody could do. We actually do these little tweaks and little improvements upon what we do before it goes out the door.
Well, and it's right. And once again, I'm glad you explained it because I thought the metal cases were just for the cool factor. I didn't know that they actually served the function of cooling the whole device down and everything, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's like going, it's designed to be that way so it help keep everything cool.
Yeah, I mean, when we go to shows and stuff, people put their hand out and go, "Oh, that's warm." I go, "Yes, it is. It's supposed to be."
Okay, then it's always fun. The first time you dropped one of these into a glass of water, did you cringe like me?
No, because I have done way worse than drop them in water. You have to. We take these drives out. We drive over them with cars. We throw water on them. We do. We drop them down. We did. What did we do? So we have a turbine in Woodstock, where our headquarters in Woodstock, Illinois. So OWC is also very sustainable. We have a turbine, we have solar, we have geothermal heating. We have one of the first LEED certified buildings in Illinois. When we opened however many years ago. So yeah, we're very much into sustainability and making things last. Another reason why we make things to last. We don't want them in landfills. That's the reason we buy used Macs, by taking people's Macs and resell them. So we're very big on sustainability. But anyway, so we would take things and drop them off the top of the turbine and let it hit the ground and see and be like, "Oh, this still works, still works." Doing
Videos. I want to see it on social media. Respect fun. Hey, Jimmy, it's time to go. Okay, I'm going to drop it off the top of the turbine. It's like, going, really? Yeah, get this on video.
Yeah, we've done cars, we've done racetracks, we've put them in, we've done burnouts on them, we've destroyed the cases and then just take the case and put the drive in a different chassis and it boots right up. So we do a lot with our testing and engineering
It's
and
like the Samsonite of hard drives.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't know that, and once again, I'm originally from Illinois as well, Peoria, but I didn't know that you guys had that great of a facility there. I mean, it seems like that's kind of something to talk about, especially,
Yeah, absolutely.
with OWC, here in the United States, to where so many technology and so many things that we end up, seeing, using, buying, whatever, are not created in this country.
Well, we do light manufacturing in Woodstock. A lot of our stuff is, comes from all over, but we do all the testing in Woodstock. So, for example, when you buy a Thunder Bay from us,
Mhm.
or any RAID system, honestly, um, we actually do the burn-in for the drives and the testing before it ever leaves our building. So you buy a Thunder Bay 8, we're gonna test and burn in 8 drives, put them in your chassis, turn them on, let them run, and then send them to you, because drives are typically gonna fail either right away or at the very end of their lives. So we take all that guesswork out of it for you. And so when you get it, you plug it in, it's ready to go. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, and this may be a silly question, but I've got to ask it. Why do you have a giant turbine?
Oh, because it's what do you do? Wind. We actually generate more. We generate more power than we consume, so we send it back to the power grid Woodstock.
So you're building the power with that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're solar and wind. We're solar wind powered in Woodstock. Solar in Austin. As well.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And so do you just like to get to travel like all over the world and
Mhm.
take like the OWC stuff and trying this out? Because I know, like you said, working with the studios in Nashville and other major music hubs like New York and Austin and so on, that's got to be kind of fun going
It
in and
is. It
working
is.
with these people going, hey, try this out.
It absolutely is. I have a great job. I've gotten to experience a lot of different things. I've gotten to travel the world. I just got back from Taiwan. I spent 2 weeks in Taiwan working with our. There's a show out there called Computex. Imagine CES type of style show, and then also got to work with a bunch of our vendors out there. Got to meet with Intel while I was out there. So we'll do that again in, Amsterdam at IBC. We'll do, the shows here in the US with NAB, and then we'll do, different events in Nashville throughout the year. LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Toronto,
It-
all these we get to do some really cool stuff.
It's
Japan.
amazing too, because I'm sure that you get a lot of other companies coming to you with OWC because I mean it's gotten so popular within the past, I'd say 3 to 5 years especially, and kind of matches with the way all of our needs are going for storage, but to where other companies are coming to you, at OWC going, "How do you guys do this?"
Yeah.
What's the magic?
Yeah, we definitely people definitely take notice to what we do. Again, expanding categories. Being some of the fastest drives on the market today. We make a Thunderblade X12, which is 12 NVMe blades in a chassis with no fan, just fins, and over 6,000 megabytes per second. And it's over, it's one of the fastest drives and highest capacity. It goes up to 96 terabytes.
Well,
Something that fits in the Pelican case.
and yeah, I was just gonna say that would fit in a Pelican case because I have so many friends that work in the business, obviously from being in media for so long to where you know the soul as I do, Chris, to where they would do a whole project and they would fill up a 1, 2, or 3 terabyte hard drive and shove it in the closet. And it's like going, how many hard drives you got in there? "Ah, about 40, and like,
That's
and they didn't want to let any of them go because there was an entire, a documentary, video project, whatever. I mean, it's like going, and so it's just they ended up with all these drives.
Yeah, we run into that a lot. We call it the box of drive problem. So that's where things like our Thunder Bays come in line, where you can take all that stuff and organize it and keep it all in one spot, back it up. If it's really truly like archived just for forever, put it on an LTO tape and you're set. As long as you're not going to touch it on a regular basis, as far as needing to edit or get files off of it,
You
put it on tape
even
and
do like a tutorial or a class on that because I didn't even know about the tape stuff and all that. And I'll be honest, I don't know if you've got like a hard drive buyers anonymous thing, but it's like I've
Mhm,
got some old ones that go way back. And
mhm.
even I've got a couple of them that engineers had to go and retrieve stuff for me that I still save them just in case. And it's like going, I probably need to let them go, looking at the products that you feed us now. I remember when I bought a Seagate that was like 1 terabyte, and it's like the size of a book, a very fat book.
Yep.
And it's going,
Yeah.
1 terabyte, that's huge. You'll never fill it up. Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. You do. Today, 1 terabyte is not what it used to be. Let's put it that
No,
way.
no, it's like Austin Powers. It's like 1. No. Yeah, you could have 1 terabyte on the Envoy Pro Mini, much
Exactly.
on the bigger ones. Well, I've gotta ask you too, though. I mean, is there like new stuff coming out like later this year or next year? You can kinda, any
Yeah, we'll have a whole line of new docking stations coming out later this year and some new products. Right now, with SSD prices being what they are, we understand people, have to be more conservative with what they purchase at this point, which is why we're doing more of the enclosure type of products and allowing people to maximize what they already own. We understand that. We feel it too. We're not oblivious to it and be like, what do you mean you don't want to pay triple what it was last year? We know that. So, we're coming out with solutions that are um allow you to use what you have and maximize what you have. And then also, we still have our, hard drive solutions to be able to transfer things off of. And then, of course we have inventory. If you need SSD, we're not, some things are, you just need SSD and we understand that. So we will continue supporting all that stuff, continue having, supply of all that stuff. We'll do the best we can and manage price as much as we can.
Sure.
And then, but yeah, we'll have several new docking stations out later this year and
I
some new storage products towards the end of the year as things hopefully calm down a little bit more.
You know what I would like to do at a point for myself even, and I'm sure of a lot of people, watching or listening to the podcast, Chris, is consolidation. Because I find myself to where it's like, and it drives me crazy, to where I will have certain things across multiple drives. And it's like, and I feel like then I spend more time searching than if I just had them on one,
Yeah,
you know?
and that's exactly what our Thunder Bay line is for. It's either
Okay.
it's a 4 or 8 terabyte RAID system that allows you to, I want to say, let's see, the Thunder Bay 4 would go up to 96 terabytes of space, and then the Thunder Bay 8 would be 192 terabytes. So
Wow.
you can cover a lot of, they're desktop units, but it allows you to put everything in one spot, organize it, which again will save you time versus, plugging in drives. I think it's this one because, the post-it notes stay so well on the drives after we put them in the box, right?
Okay. It's like you've been hanging out with, like, I don't know where the camera's at, but it's like, yeah, you know me. It's like, I have a go down, okay, this is where this is at. And then the audio's over here, but then the video's over there. And it's like, come on, just to be able to, I think, have them, I think that would help me so much with filing because as content creators, and so many of us are, including yourself, time is money, and you don't have time to waste finding the stuff you need. But also, like I said, with the OWC products, I've been so impressed just, with the ones I've used and written reviews on to where it's like, it's become my choice, I mean, just because I know it's just like what the audio people told, with the producers and everybody in the studios. I can depend on it and I don't have to worry about it. I now have to if I had to.
Exactly. And that's another thing about it too is, we're here. Yes, you can buy drives from us and we're, but we're also here on the back end supporting our customers. So like if you call, you're going to get a real person. You're not going to get AI. You're not going to get, a train or what do they call, phone tree. You'll get a little, you get to the right person and we'll help you. That's the thing is we're here to support you. And if you have a question, have a problem, you'll talk to a real person and they will help you solve the problem.
And
Won't be
true story on that, Chris, to where when I was reviewing, I think one of your first products years ago, and I was having an issue trying to figure it all out. And I reached out and I got a real person. And I'll be honest with you, kind of threw me because I was when Okay, it's like going, with AI prompts and all this kind of stuff, and you end up, being sent to places you don't.
If you need real support, product questions, yes. If you need like a shipping code, yeah, fine, AI can get you that. But like if you have a real back and forth interaction, that's what we have. And that's why we have a tried and true customer support team that's available, 10, 11, 12 hours a day on the phone and then 24/7 through chat. So
But it's
like,
nice to be able to call and reach out and have somebody that actually knew the product. You know what I mean? It's not like going, you know, you know, I didn't know more than they did. They're like going, "Oh no, here's what you need to do on it," and I'm like, "Oh no," and once they walk me through it, simple.
yep.
But that means in this day.
It does. I mean, we're gonna stand by our product, in person. You have a problem with the product, come find me at a show. Happy to talk about it.
So has
I mean,
has
that's
OWC thought about doing more tutorials and stuff like that on all the different? Because I mean,
yeah, yeah, we do. We've done a lot.
okay,
We've done a lot over the few years. More education. I think that's what people are looking for at this point. We've done a lot of educational things around like this week we've launched, especially in the last couple months, but more this week we've launched of like when to use SSD versus HDD, when to use the right media card for your camera and stuff like
mhm,
that. And we do it more in the short form,
okay,
at this point, just because that's where we are as a world. We like our 30 seconds, how to's and stuff like that.
yep.
But there we do have long form videos on our YouTube channel and stuff
Well,
like
like
that,
front
how to
different
install
as
things.
the cameras, being able to have those, it's so important because once again, working in the business, you get one shot. When you're out in the and whether it's for sports, whether it's for news, whether you're doing film, whether you're doing shorts, whatever you're doing, you got one time.
Yep.
You can't go back and reshoot it again. You can't put those people back together again. The
Yep.
camera, what you shoot has to be right the first time.
Yeah, I mean, look at what I mean, look at especially what's going on. Look at what's going on with the World Cup right now.
Oh my God.
I mean, you don't get to you don't the content that's coming out of the World Cup, you don't get to do that twice.
No, no, and it's a
So
made footage. I mean, and I'm not just saying I work for Fox, but it's like, but makes you pretty proud when you're watching the world. Well, I wanted to bring up real quick a shout out to our partner for Acoustic Coffee Company. And if you're watching or listening to the Gear Gab podcast, use the code Gear Gab and you'll get 20% off your first order of coffee. And Chris will be getting a bag of coffee of his choice, being our ground. So,
I love
Chris,
that.
you're got to you on that
All right, sounds good.
when you're working on all the computer stuff.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring up also, we were talking about some of the new innovations and the docking.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this? Because I've noticed, and certainly with hard drives and everything else, it seems like everything is going more USB-C now
Yeah,
instead of
it is.
C.
It is.
You
And then,
or do you
that's
another yeah.
no, I think USB-C as the connector type will be what we see stayed with for the industry. I think USB-C, the different protocols, whether it be USB versus Thunderbolt, they'll all have the same connector. I think that's not going away. I think you'll see more docks have more USB-C because that's what most people have. We will always still put one or two USB-A on there because we do understand that there's legacy out there, but we are definitely leaning more towards USB-C, HDMI, things like that versus, DisplayPort in the past and
Yeah,
USB.
and I like it that the HDMI connectivity, but also, on the units, to where, just like on the Electron to where it has the slip-on to use the
Mhm.
standard B. It's so 'cause a lot of times, once again, just talking about me, I'll switch between the 2 in one day, depending on where I'm plugged in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where the Android Pro Mini comes in that you have. Like you have both on that. The Electron has that. The Effects has that. Where we don't do that anymore is when we started getting into like Thunderbolt 4 and Thunderbolt 5 because the speed differentiation is so different between A and 5, USB A and Thunderbolt 5 that there's if you in order to use in order to maximize Thunderbolt 5, you need to have a Thunderbolt 5 computer. Thunderbolt 5 computer is not connected over USB-A.
No, no, not at all.
So
And I wanted to ask you this too, with all of the drives and, and working with all of these studios and everything,
Mhm.
what's some of the craziest size drives you've been asked for, like, in the last year or so? I mean, with the studio,
Um,
the AI, with all this stuff, I mean, what are some of the crazy
I
quick
think the largest ones that we get, and they're, is we have the 96 terabyte X12, which we actually, that's the, NGM's, Amazon, Apple TV type of, use cases, film big budget films and stuff like that that need that, or to be honest with you, we do that, some of those types of things. You see a lot of documentary work being done with that
oh,
because
totally.
because the span is so great. You
Right.
need to be able to hold so much and capture so much.
Well, and too, with the documentaries, I talked to a lot of people doing documentaries coming on my TV show too, to where the B-roll,
Yeah.
you're in with, huge amounts of B-roll and then
Mhm.
putting everything together. And then you've got, you're recording all the interviews with all of these people over years.
Mhm.
It's going, that's a huge amount of content, but it seems to me
Exactly.
like it's increasing.
It is. It absolutely is, and that's why, with Thunderbolt 4 and Thunderbolt 5, especially on, like, even the new Express 4M2
Mhm.
Ultra, you have the extra Thunderbolt port on the back, so you can start daisy chaining together, and you can start daisy chaining up to 4 devices. So now your 32 has become 64, has become, and so on,
Right.
because you can plug them in together. So, and, that's the nice part of it too, is a little modularity with what we make too. So you can add to what you have.
I keep expecting OWC at some point, Chris, to come out with like the watch, to where it's like going, I just plug in my watch into the computer. It's like
No, we'll leave that to Apple. We'll leave that to Apple and Google, so they can do the watches.
you'll just help them with it with the memory,
Help
right?
them with it. Yeah, exactly. We'll help them. We'll help them if they want to put a USB-C port on them. We can put a drive. We can have a.
Okay, and this is my suggestion too, Chris. You need to have a
Mhm.
series of just how you torture the drives before they go out to the public.
We actually talk about that. We are actually going to work on that because we do get asked a lot about our products being rugged because historically, as OWC doesn't put rubber bumpers or covers on our drives. We haven't.
Yeah.
A few reasons for that. One, our drives don't need it. They stand alone on their own. And two, the bumper is rubber. It actually traps heat. So we don't want to trap any heat within our products.
I did not know that. But
Mhm.
that also makes sense with the other ones because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they get hotter.
Yes.
When you pick up a drive, once again, and you and I, and I'm sure a lot of content creators out there, joining the show, it's like going, you're working those things, man. I mean, and they're plugged in, they're on, you're moving, images, audio, video, back and forth and back and forth. I mean, they work, you know?
Mhm.
It always freaked me out too, like the old ones with the drives, to when you'd start hearing them make a funny sound, Chris.
Yes. That's when you start to like, okay,
And I would
there's
talk
my new one
here at the TV station, Dan Soames. I'm like going, dude, this is making a funny sound. I don't have a good feeling. And sometimes it doesn't pull across the data. It's like going, we got to get you a new one.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like that's one of the signs. It's like going, but it's like you don't get that with the OWC though.
No. No.
You know,
Very, very rarely. Like I said, we test a lot of our stuff. It goes through a lot of testing before it ever sees the light of day. Both from a development standpoint, but like I said, even to the fact where, like, before we ship it to you, we do burn in and all that stuff
right?
on the drive, so you don't have to worry about that.
I think I am going to have to visit the website, this week or next, because I need to expand my connectivity. And I know that you guys have expanded in that with OWC.
Mhm.
I think for a lot of us to where you're just plugging in more stuff. And like you said too, with other drives, which I'd like to consolidate, but we're all doing so much stuff,
Mhm.
with images and audio and video, and you want it pristine. You want it to look great. And also if you're going in just like you guys, with marketing there, if you're making shorts, well, that takes up bandwidth also.
Mhm. Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, you're gonna recut the same footage how many times in this day and
exactly.
age? You are. I mean, that's just fact. Like, you're going to, posting once a week isn't, or once a day is not an option anymore.
No, I have
Like,
so many music artists on the show, and one of these times when you come into Nashville, I want you to join me at the TV studio while we're doing an interview so I can sort of hang out and see how we do it. But so many of these artists, they work as hard or harder on their social media than they have to on their music because the songwriting and
it's
how that comes
the
in
way how that works now. It's how the business is. You have to do other things.
and bring a social media team with them, Chris,
Mhm.
in studio, and they will shoot more time with that than with the TV interview I do with the Rock and Review forum that will go out nationally because they need the content. And they'll shoot stuff. I mean, we had Howard Jones come in, and his daughter came in and shot video that they used for a month.
Mhm. Yeah, it's new content on a regular basis, and the song is, it's the song, but it's the song in how many different formats and in different ways at this point because that's,
Yep.
it's unfortunately the world is what it is now as far as the business side of music, and it's
Right.
it's different.
Yeah. But also it's a good time to be OWC.
It is content wise, because content there, like I said earlier, there's never been more content being created, in the world than there is today. And there'll be more tomorrow and more the day after that. So
But there's
it,
nothing worse than creating great content, whatever that may be, and not being able to access it.
not access it or lose it or,
Oh,
I mean, that's why, we stress, backing things up, 3, 2, 1, if you just have a copy of a copy, you're not backed up,
right.
you know,
You're making me feel bad right now. You wait, I may have to call, the Chris Kooistra hotline and just, make sure that I'm backing everything up right, because I mean, you just worry about it. When I have music artists, just like, doing these kind of interviews, for the podcast, but also for the TV show, I got one shot, man. It's like when, these artists are coming in to Nashville one time. And so it's like if we don't have it and if we don't, be able to produce with it and cut it into different segments, that's it.
yeah, that's it. Yep.
They might be back in a year.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's our, that's what we, what we're here for, honestly. We are here to make sure that you don't have to worry about that. That you're in your moment.
On.
Yeah.
You guys make it fun. I mean, it's like, usually, before when I would cover, drives and different things like that, I was like, how do you make this exciting? And then when I started working, with OWC products and covering those for the magazine, just like going, this is a little more fun. This is,
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, look at the stuff that's being created. That's
right.
the fun stuff. The black
Yeah.
box that stores it is important, yes, because that's where the content lives. But look at the cool stuff that's being created from someone you've never heard of yet in a room somewhere, around the world to, world famous artists and films and stuff being captured, sports, sporting events, weddings, I mean, there's things like that, like, that those are things you can't get again. So,
That
that's
big weddings long ago, and I think that was, like, some of the most stressful stuff I did, Chris,
Mhm.
because just like, and that's back when I was shooting on 3/4 inch videotape, and it's like, man, you were just sweating because it's like going you had one shot, with the minister, with the couple, with everything, it's like going it was very stressful,
yeah.
we didn't have the great hard drives then, you just had video, and every time you edited with videotape, Chris, you had a generation loss.
Mm.
So, not like the digital world that we live in to where you can pitch it back and forth and edit it and all this kind of stuff, and it's, like, pristine, but, that's crazy. Well, I wanna make sure for everyone, joining, Gear Gab Podcast, Chris, with the website, with the social media, obviously with the shows you're gonna be at, and also with the cool social media you guys do,
Yeah.
where do
You can
our viewers need to go?
Yeah, you can check us everything OWC at OWC.com and on our social powered by OWC.
And there's gonna be some other big announcements coming out later this year that we can't fully talk
Yes.
about yet.
Can't fully talk about yet, no, but we'll have a bunch of new products coming out later this year.
Well, it's a lot of fun having you on the show. It's gonna be more fun having you here in Nashville, and, when you're in town next time, we'll have to go out and have some hot chicken or something, Chris.
All right, sounds good. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, Chris Kooistra from OWC, Other World Computing, thank you again for coming on the show. And be sure to check out all their products. And I think you're going to be surprised at how many different cool products they have that can help you with your content creation. Just like me, whether you're doing shows, music, video, still photography, AI, you name it, they can use your products, right, Chris?
They absolutely can.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me, Eric.
Thanks for joining the Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl. Subscribe to our weekly conversations on your favorite platform. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Gear Gab Podcast. You'll never know who our next guest will be.